Ireland, between ancient myths and sustainable innovation. Ireland, the Emerald Isle between ancient myths and sustainable future. Ireland, between Celtic roots and a sustainable future. Imagine an island shrouded in the mist of the Atlantic Ocean, where green hills, ancient myths and modern innovative impulses coexist in harmony. This is Ireland, a land that bears centuries of history, but that looks to the future with courage, eager to affirm a development model that is both inclusive and respectful of its traditions. In this document, we retrace the fundamental chapters of Irish history and the challenges that characterize its present, inspired by the engaging style of the best documentary filmmakers and authoritative voices of popularization. Historical and cultural context. 1.1 Celtic origins and linguistic roots. We enter a world of legends and enchantments. Around the 5th century BC, the Celts brought to the island spiritual beliefs and a language, the Proto-Gaelic, from which Irish Gaelic, Gaelge, would develop. This language is not only a means of communication, but the very soul of a people, who found their heroes and foundational narratives in the tales of the Ulster cycle and the Fenian cycle. At a time when transmission was mainly oral, the stories of C.U. Tuillerin and Fionn mac Cumhaill spread thanks to the bards, the first ambassadors of the Celtic identity. 1.2 Foreign invasions and urban development. Not only forests and Celtic myths, the Irish stage became, starting from the 8th century AD, the land of conquest for the Vikings, who gave rise to important coastal centres such as Dublin, from the Norse Dyflin. Later, it was the Normans who left indelible traces, building fortresses and castles, think of Trim or Kilkenny, that still defy the centuries. If on the one hand these invasions threatened Celtic autonomy, on the other they enriched the urban and cultural fabric, shaping a stratified society in which different legal institutions, languages and customs were intertwined. 1.3 British rule, Great Famine and revolts. We reach the 19th century, when the Act of Union of 1800 made Ireland part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, effectively limiting its autonomy. And it is here that we find one of the darkest periods in Irish history, the Great Famine, 1845 to 1849. Due to blight, the population's main food, the potato, became scarce, causing starvation, epidemics and forced emigration. 1 million people lost their lives, another million sought their fortune elsewhere. In this painful diaspora, the emigrants brought with them not only dreams and hopes, but also the sound of the Gaelic language and the imprint of their native culture. Nationalist ferments, culminating in the Easter Rising, 1916, and the War of Independence, 1919 to 1921, marked a historic redemption. With the birth of the Irish Free State, the island finally obtained its own sovereignty, although Northern Ireland remained under British control. 1 point for the Northern Ireland question and the short century. The separation from the North opened a complex scenario, fueled by tensions between nationalist Catholics and Unionist Protestants. The troubles of the 1960s to 1990s caused deaths, clashes and divisions, yet, 1998 marked the date of a possible redemption. The Good Friday Agreement opened the way to a difficult but real conciliation. On the socio-economic level, the Republic of Ireland initiated reforms and joined the EEC, 1973, fundamental engines of a modernization that transformed the country. 1.5 Influence of the Catholic Church and social changes. For decades, the Catholic Church has set the pace of education and public morality, with a tangible impact on family policies and customs. The abuse scandals that emerged in the 1990s and growing secularization have led to a review of its power. Symbolic, in this sense, are the referendums on equal marriage, 2015, and voluntary termination of pregnancy, 2018, signs of an Ireland that, while tied to its roots, chooses to open up to civil rights. 1.6 The Irish diaspora. The gaze of those who have left often turns back, towards the Green Island. It is the Irish diaspora, over 17 million strong worldwide. From Boston to Melbourne, communities of Irish origin celebrate St. Patrick's Day with a dedication that reminds us how identity can cross oceans. These emotional bonds translate into cultural exchanges, investments and tourist flows, creating a bridge between the past and the future. Geographical and environmental characteristics. From a natural point of view, Ireland appears as a mosaic of plains, rolling hills and coastal reliefs, lapped by the impetuous winds of the Atlantic. The climate, tempered by the Gulf Stream, is humid and rainy, but rarely extreme. The Shannon River, with its over 300 kilometers, crosses the island and represents its liquid heart, an indispensable resource for agriculture and tourism. 2.1 The importance of biodiversity. Ancient bogs, windswept heaths, remnant oak and ash forests, Ireland's biodiversity lives in a fragile balance, threatened by intensive agriculture and urbanization. By joining EU programs, Ireland has committed to protecting these ecosystems, which are crucial for migratory species and native plants. The restoration of bogs and wetlands, as well as the creation of ecological corridors, represents a concrete commitment to protecting a priceless heritage. 2.2 Effects of climate change. Cliffs overlooking the ocean, such as the famous Cliffs of Moher, remind us of the power of the sea, but also of the vulnerability of a territory at risk of erosion. Climate change could alter Atlantic currents and rainfall patterns, putting farmers and coastal communities in difficulty. The ecological transition is an increasingly urgent response, necessary to face frequent storms and floods, and to safeguard future generations. Strengths. 3.1 High Human Development Index. Despite the wounds of the past, Ireland today ranks high in international indices measuring quality of life, education, and per capita income. A constantly evolving healthcare system and high-level education demonstrate how investment in people has been a driver of growth. 3.2 Low poverty rate. Irish social policies have been able to contain poverty, offering support networks to the most vulnerable groups. From education subsidies to unemployment benefits, through the crucial role of non-profit organizations, Irish society is distinguished by a spirit of mutual assistance and volunteerism that has its roots in ancient farming communities. 3.3 Quality of education. The universities of Dublin, Cork and Galway, with centuries-old traditions, form a human capital that fuels advanced sectors such as IT, finance and biotechnology. The continuous collaboration between universities and companies offers students research and internship opportunities, innervating the economy with cutting-edge skills. 3.4 Economic stability and the Celtic Tiger. Since the 1990s, Ireland has been at the center of an economic miracle resulting from tax breaks, foreign investment and far-sighted policies. Tech giants, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, have chosen the island as their European base, encouraging the creation of entrepreneurial ecosystems and the accumulation of high-profile skills. While the 2008 crisis showed the fragility of this model, the country has managed to get back into the game, focusing on a mix of innovative services and specialized industry. 3.5 Peace and security. The legacy of their troubles has taught us that peace is a value that must be carefully preserved. Today, Ireland is considered one of the safest countries, thanks also to the collaboration between institutions and local communities, committed to preventing the resurgence of political and social tensions. The civil fabric, with its inclination towards hospitality and dialogue, is a bastion of stability. 3.6 Relatively healthy environment. Green pastures, wild coasts, and a low industrial density contribute to maintaining air and water quality above the average of other highly urbanized countries. At the same time, the agri-food tradition, made of artisanal cheeses, top-quality meats and iconic drinks such as stout beer, supports a supply chain that values the connection with the land. 3.7 Strong community spirit and cultural identity. The power of folk music, engaging dances, literary festivals and a passion for Gaelic sports, hurling, Gaelic football, are the glue of a society that celebrates community. Each county, each village, boasts a unique history and a sense of belonging that is reflected in popular festivals and pub gatherings, the true beating hearts of Irish social life. Main challenges. 4.1 Limited biodiversity and environmental degradation. The conservation of peatlands and moorlands, the protection of pollinating insects, the rebalancing of agricultural areas, these are crucial issues for Ireland. The industrialization of the primary sector and the changes to natural habitats have reduced the capacity of the territory to conserve endemic species and to absorb carbon, with significant repercussions on the climate. 4.2 High suicide rate. In the quiet rural world, where the horizon seems infinite, isolation can become a burden. The suicide rate, particularly in certain counties, expresses a deep unease. Prevention initiatives and the strengthening of mental health services try to offer concrete answers, but the challenge remains open and requires constant resources and widespread sensitivity. 4.3 Low forest cover. Centuries of deforestation and agricultural exploitation have left a country with just 11% of its forested surface. Reforestation means not only planting trees, but rebuilding complex ecosystems, capable of absorbing and hosting rich biodiversity. Government programs and NGO efforts are moving in this direction, although the results require patience and long-term commitment. 4.4 Educational inequalities. The excellent overall results of the education system do not erase the disparities between urban and rural areas, nor those related to economic class. The digital divide, especially in access to fast connections, risks exacerbating these differences. Investing in scholarships, online platforms, and continuous training represents the main way to give all young people the opportunity to express their potential. 4.5 Social problems in rural areas. The Irish countryside may seem idyllic, but behind the beauty lies depopulation, lack of services, and inadequate infrastructure. The closure of schools, post offices, and small shops deprives communities of essential reference points. To reverse the trend, incentives for generational turnover, improved transport, and development policies that take into account the specificity of the territories are needed. 4.6 Economic imbalances and dependence on multinationals. Being the European headquarters of large multinationals has brought prosperity and jobs, but it has also created a strong dependence on business decisions made elsewhere. If these companies were to relocate, entire sectors and regions could suffer severe repercussions. At the same time, the cost of living, especially in Dublin, continues to rise, raising questions about the sustainability of a model so focused on foreign capital. Conclusion: an island of opportunity and responsibility. Ireland presents itself to the world with the strength of a thousand-year-old culture, the momentum of a dynamic economy, and the sensitivity of those who have known the wounds of history. Today's challenges, from protecting biodiversity to rebalancing the city and countryside, from mental health to the fight against climate change, require long-term vision and social cohesion. As the best documentaries teach us, telling the complexity of a country means capturing the nuances of every story, every face, every hill or cliff. Ireland, with its ability to hold together tradition and modernity, contains a message of hope for other communities. Cultivating one's roots is not in contradiction with innovation, but rather is the basis for building a shared future. And in this journey, the participation of citizens, institutions and businesses is the driving force that transforms ideas into tangible achievements.